Life is nice as the king of the new world. Well, then how about I dethrone you? Excuse me, who are you? The new queen of this land. You know I eat things like you, right? Sure, things like me, but I'd like to see you try to eat me. Was that a threat or a romantic invitation? Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, if we, for a moment, all agree that parallel universes exist, then there has to be a universe where instead of Monster Hunter World releasing and then Iceborne releasing as an expansion, there was no expansion. Just the base game, and then moving on to the next project. In another universe, there is no expansion, but instead of Monster Hunter World being the introduction to the 5th generation, we could have just had Iceborne as its own game, with the story that it has, the locations that it has, and the monsters that it has. Let's say for some reason, you have to go to one of these two universes.
Please, Morty, you have to do it, Morty!
What do you base it on? What cool new monsters you would lose, or which ones you would want to keep? Or, in my mind, which game has the more important and better flagship? World does. Iceborne! Well, there's only one way to find out, by which I mean there are 5 ways to find out, 5 categories, each with a point, to find out who, between Nergigante and Velkhana, is a better monster, from now
until the end of time.
Ecology.
Now, this section is slightly unfair, if for no other reason than just the amount of time these monsters have been around. We've had a couple of years to learn more about Nergigante, whereas Velkhana is still a fairly recent discovery with a lot more left to understand. As for Nergi, he has an interesting past. Even though he is shaped like just about every other Elder Dragon that has ever existed, 4 legs, 2 wings, though a little bit more buff than usual. He was simply an unclassified monster for years and years by the Research Commission until the arrival of the 5th Fleet in the New World, who was able to link his arrival in the New World with the Elder Crossings every 10 years, leading the guild to label him officially as an Elder Dragon. Everyone knows, at least to a certain extent, that Nergigante eats Elder Dragons. They are his primary food source, but a lot of people seem to think that he can only hunt 1 or 2 because of the area he inhabits in-game. But in truth, he is known to be more of a nomadic creature, and is therefore willing to fight various kinds of Elder Dragons, most notably dependent on the creature's bioenergy. Part of the point of the Elder Crossing in general is that all Elder Dragons have some sort of special bioenergy, with some creatures having a smaller amount, and some, like Zora Magdaros for example, having much more of it. This energy specifically is a delicacy to Nergigante, and is why he hunts Elder Dragons. So to him, the more energy, the better. It's why he appears on Zora's back, is why he kills but doesn't eat that Bearoth early on in the story, not much bioenergy at all. It's why he is willing to have a turf war with any Elder Dragon that he sees. And it's why his big brother Runer took a chomp out of the neck of Shara Ishvalda at the end of the Iceborne storyline. To Nergigante, things that are powerful simply taste good. As for Velkhana, she was pretty clearly an Elder Dragon from the first time we saw her, no one underestimating her, mislabeling her, because even in just a sort of idle position, you can tell just how strong she can be, partially because of how her scales look, just like nothing else in the entire series.
Shining, shimmering, splendid.
And there is good goddamn reason for that. And it's actually the reason in lore that we find her in the Elder's Recess the first time we properly fight her too. She isn't there for no reason. She is there to molt, because her scales are made of rapidly cooled magma.
With liquid
cold
magma.
As she is basically the liquid nitrogen monster, which is why her non-solid breath both turns solid when it hits the ground, and is capable of turning other things solid, like wing drakes, which are her main food source. Sorry if that is slightly less impressive than killing Elder Dragons, but it is what it is, right? We don't have much information on the breeding habits of the Velkhana, but we do know a little bit about Nergi. So first up, they are agender and reproduce asexually, requiring a massive amount of bioenergy to do so, which all sort of explains the Elder Dragon bloodlust that he has. To quote the next part of the process directly, when Nergigante regenerates its spikes, some of them may gain the bioenergy it has used to begin to produce germ cells, allowing Nergigante to produce another of its kind without the need of a mate. What I gather from this is that if he is, well, fed enough by bioenergy, every spike he has is a potential baby Nergigante. That's terrifying. And with that combined with the rest of him, it seems totally unfair to give the point for this section to anyone but Nergigante. God damn it, go fuck yourself! As has been pointed out, I do that regularly. Yes.
Funness.
Okay, look, I may be biased on this one, as my feelings are very well known here. Nergigante is a wonderfully fun fight, especially as right now we are not talking about Runar, just normal Nergi. I love him from the ground up, the idea of the spike mechanics and how you can chain knockdown him if you're good at the game and experienced at hunting the one specific monster that he is. I love things like this that are learnable and make the fight legitimately easier just because you have knowledge of the creature in question, just like real life. If you learn something's weaknesses, it should give you a serious edge in a fight against it, just like you have accomplished here with Nergigante. Velkhana is, well, she has less of that. Nothing particularly more or less learnable than other monsters except, I guess, the beam. I would argue that it is less learnable than other monsters because it goes through her own walls. Yes, I'm still salty about this, and that will never change. Hey, maybe one day I'll collect enough salt to melt right through the ice walls and solve my own problems.
And modern problems require modern solutions.
But I think from here it is pretty clear where my feelings lie on this one. Velkhana is reasonably fun, but at least for me, Nergigante is a clear leap ahead in this category. Hey, can we move on to something that I'm good at, please? Oh, I did not realize that there was a dying category.
Design.
And here is where things get to be a bit on more of an even footing, as far as I'm concerned, as aesthetically pleasing as Nergigante is, being a hedgehog dragon, Velkhana is just absolutely beautiful. Especially with the incredibly enhanced ice graphics and Iceborne surrounding her, she is just a gorgeous specimen of an elder dragon. And to be 100% honest with you, I'm still pretty sad that Nergi didn't wind up being the flying brute wyvern that his concept art began as. That definitely brings him down just a little bit for me, because I would have loved what could have been here, but wasn't. But honestly, even aside from that, I'm not sure Nergigante would win this one, because aesthetically speaking, there's just something about Velkhana, something intangible that makes her look so graceful, so peaceful, so noble. Whereas Nergigante is cool looking, he is definitely more of the rough and tumble type of dragon, so if for no other reason than personal preference, this point goes straight into the scaly pockets of Velkhana. Ha! Take that one, you oversized sea urchin! That is not even the animal I am based off of, what are you saying?
Coolness factor.
Oh, this one is difficult, okay? Nergigante eats elder dragons. Nergigante eats elder dragons! And, you know, on top of that, he is basically the monster equivalent of Wolverine.
Wolverine, snickety, snickety, snoring.
To the point where he literally has a crazy regenerative healing factor, hardening spikes that he can extend out of his body, and, you know, he eventually gets a variant with the equivalent of metal bones. Nothing to see here, guys! Totally unique monster concept that doesn't take any inspiration from pop culture! Move along! As for Velkhana, however, there is no denying how damn cool she is. Just from head to toe, all up along the wings, down the arms and legs and the tail, she is just absolutely cold. I'm sorry, I had to do it. The fact that her scales are just super cooled magma is very awesome. Her whole generating ice weapons around her body to make herself more effective in combat is just dripping with cool. And she has a ton of really, really unique, interesting attacks, like the ice walls itself. As much as I complain about how they interact with the beam, the walls themselves are not only totally unique, but totally cool. The fact that they make jumping platforms after you break them so you can do jump attacks in non-jumpable areas is actually sick. And then after you cut off her tail, she just reforms it made of ice whenever she does a tail attack. Almost like for her, losing a non-essential part of her body, even something as gigantically important to a flying creature as a tail, she just shrugs it off, creates her own prosthetic out of ice, and kicks some fucking ass. And to me, as much as I think Nergigante is super cool, Velkhana has enough unique fight mechanics and interesting interactions with herself that she just edges out in this section for me. What is this bullshit? I am the coolest! Yeah, baby, but I'm ice cold!
Death fight?
The big one. Well, what would normally be the big one? Some people might disagree with me on this one just a little bit because obviously all of these are based on how you interpret things, but I consider this one to be a basically non-contest. One of these creatures mainly hunts winged drakes that they freeze first to make it an easy target. The other is a prime hunter of elder dragons who goes after, as a great example, Kashala Daora.
Any word from the Wicked Witch of the East Wing?
If Nergigante is capable capable of killing Kushala Daora with all of his flight shenanigans and his ridiculously hard scales, then I can't see the flying or hardness of scales being an issue against Velkhana. As for the ice itself, Nergi is only 1-star weak to ice, so it has particularly limited effect against him, and unfortunately for Velkhana, I don't know how great she would be at breaking his spikes in the first place, as it would require a fair amount of physical strength, whereas her strengths lay much more in the elemental realm. To sum it up, well, I think the fight would be somewhat even for a very, very long time, possibly even resulting in a super long encounter. I just don't see a way that Velkhana can actually finish off Nergigante, as the most damage I can see her doing is freezing and breaking sections of his outer shell, which would just regenerate too quickly for her to deal with, while also managing his relentless onslaught of physical attacks against her. Sorry, Velkhana, but it's right here that I declare Nergigante the winner.
But he's so old. Ha! Sometimes old is gold, bitch.
So that leads us to the conclusion. If we are going straight off of numbers, for those who aren't counting, Nergigante won 3 sections to 2. Though I would say I may have pitied Velkhana a little bit in one of those just to give her a bit more of a fighting chance. So at least as far as my opinion goes here, Nergigante is the better of these two monsters by a pretty decent sized margin. Maybe over time as we learn more about Velkhana, or with information added if she returns in future games, my opinion could change. But as we currently stand, I am more than happy to crown Nergigante the victor between these two. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been Nergigante versus Velkhana, a battle to the death for my love. They both have said love from me, just in varying amounts. Do you agree with where I landed in each category? Which of these monsters do you think is the flat out best, regardless? And which monsters would you like to see pitted against each other in this style in the future? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters, or important news about the kingdom Animalia. Rage, Cotton, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe, and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.